But let's go ahead and dive into it. And I want to bring up some of the recruiting update. I haven't been on to be able to give much of a recruiting update, kind of go through some of the big-time recruits that Oklahoma's gotten here over the day. And really, any recruit is big-time recruit, right? It's Oklahoma. So they're not going after chumps. They're going after big-time guys. And one of those was Oklahoma's quarterback, Bowe Bentley. That was back on Friday, June 20th, and I know Chad and Tierney kind of broke that down a little bit. Go check that video out. So I won't go too far into depth with that. I will kind of give a little bit of a breakdown because I think there's, some Oklahoma fans and some sports fans in general, college football fans, that don't really understand the timeline to really understand why Jaden O'Neal didn't end up committing to Oklahoma, or staying committed with Oklahoma, I should say, and why the Oklahoma staff pursued after Bowe Bentley in the first place. And I understand with today's NIL and transfer portal, even recruiting, it kind of gets treated the same way, that there isn't as much loyalty. And I get that. I totally understand and even share some of that with you guys. But with this one, it was quite a bit different because Jaden O'Neal, he did commit to Oklahoma and has been committed for quite some time, moved to the state of Oklahoma to play for Mustang, and a great school for him to be able to develop and get ready for the collegiate level. And that was a good move for him if that was his route. But here's where changes happen, is that he was being recruited by the man who was with Oklahoma at the time, and that was a man that I know not a lot of people want to talk about, but Seth Luttrell. Seth Luttrell was the guy that went after Jaden O'Neal and got his commitment originally. And so you have to have some kind of sympathy for these kids that commit to a specific coach and then go on to follow that coach wherever he goes. I think you have to have some sympathy, and of course, not everybody will. And again, I get it. I especially in today's day and age, I get it. But the loyalty isn't always to the team. Most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, the loyalty is really with the coach that's trying to get you to commit, the coach that's pursuing after you, the coach that's going after you and recruiting you hardcore. He's the one that you're gaining that relationship with. And that wasn't there for Jaden O'Neal anymore. But that wasn't really the biggest reason. That was definitely a reason for him to possibly even hear other schools out. But then on top of that, when Ben Arbuckle came in, he saw Bowe Bentley and said, that's my quarterback. That's the quarterback that fits my system. I want to go after him. And they made it clear. They visited with Jaden O'Neal that they still wanted to go after him as well. They wanted both of them to stay committed to Oklahoma. And that was the goal. That was the hopes. But obviously you can't get everybody to stick around. And if you're Jaden O'Neal, I think you have to understand that you're not their guy anymore. And so you move on. I understand Jaden O'Neal moving on to Florida State. It makes total sense. That just wasn't the guy that they were going after. And you want to feel like any recruit, he wants to feel like the guy going in there. So that's why Jaden O'Neal ended up going on. But Oklahoma's big-time recruit, that was back on Friday. So I know it's no breaking news here for me today, but first time that I'm coming to you guys live to be able to talk about that one. More recently, Oklahoma had a 4-star defensive end, pretty big commit for anytime you can get a 4-star, any blue chip is a good commitment. And this one seems to be one of the biggest that Oklahoma has gotten so far, a very big one, very good one to have. And that's 4-star defensive end, Daniel Norman. I kind of joked with Parker Thune saying, like, how can you not come to Oklahoma with the last name Norman? So that was just yesterday that he committed. Big time commit for Oklahoma. You want to keep that defensive end. That edge rusher is so important in today's college football, let alone in the SEC. An incredible position to have at the top level, at a top tier out on the edge. You have to have that guy that's able to come off the edge and set the tone for stopping any kind of runs from getting outside and pushing that inside towards your front seven, but then I guess the rest of your front seven, and you also want a guy like what Oklahoma has in R. Mason Thomas, who can get back there and put pressure on a quarterback, and may not always get the sack, but he's back there putting a pressure on any quarterback to make him make bad throws, make him make bad decisions. So going after a top defensive end was absolutely a must for Oklahoma, and I think you just have to keep on stacking on in that room. And obviously that was the big one there for Daniel Norman. Huge get for him. He's 6'4", 230 pounds, big dude, big stature. He is out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And he chose Oklahoma over some pretty big programs too. From being from Florida, he chose over Miami. Colorado is also a name being thrown in there. And no, they're not quite the prominent name that Oklahoma is, but still a big name, especially with who their head coach is, and Deion Sanders. Penn State, another big time school, especially when we're talking about defensive ends, any kind of defensive lineman. Penn State is definitely a good one to beat out, even LSU and others. So a lot of big time schools going after this guy. I think that kind of puts Oklahoma fans, or really any fan who's paying attention to any kind of recruiting, it puts you a little bit more at ease when you know that the guy that you were recruiting and the guy that you ended up getting was also being recruited by other schools who you respect. And that was absolutely the case here for Oklahoma, picking up Daniel Norman. He did tell OU Insider that a big reason why he ended up coming to Oklahoma was that he was looking for schools when he was going through his visits, that he wanted to go to a school that would be able to develop him. And of course, Coach Chavis felt like he offered that with the most confidence, kind of gave that to him, offered that to him, where he really felt like he could be developed at Oklahoma. And of course, you walk through those facilities, but they are top facilities. But obviously, if you're going through LSU and Penn State, Miami, they've also got big facilities. But it came down to the coach, and Coach Chavis really pressed and showed him the development that he could put him through and offer to him. An interesting fact about Daniel Norman is that he also comes from St. Thomas Aquinas, the same high school that Nick Benito came from. And I actually just found this out today when I was reading. The same high school that longtime athletic director Joe Castiglione also came from. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's a fun fact to throw in there, but a big time get for him right now. As of right now, Coach Chavis, he's got locked in, for the commitment. He's got Daniel Norman and Matthew Nelson, but they're still remaining on the hunt, trying to get more of those edge guys. You've got D'Anthony Lafayette, another guy that Oklahoma really hopes to land. And I think the biggest one that, man, Oklahoma would have to be ecstatic about getting is Jake Cruel, the number 3 edge rusher in the 2026 class. He's been teasing it at Oklahoma, but he hasn't really given that full commitment yet. And it's going to take a little bit longer, I think, for him. So we'll see. We'll see where that ends up landing. But as of right now, landing Daniel Norman, big time get for the edge rusher and a guy that can set the tone on the edge. So a big time get for Oklahoma there, that a commit that just happened yesterday. Also, number 3 star, it's a 3-star linebacker who was one of them. I think he was the most recent after the Champ Barbecue, if memory serves me correctly. But linebacker Beau Jandro, I think his name is. I might be pronouncing that last name right, but I'll get clarification on it. But anyways, Beau Jandreau, who, if you remember correctly, just a little while back, I think about 6 weeks ago, Oklahoma landed his brother, his twin brother, Nico Jandro, who is a safety, 3-star safety. Both these guys, they're rated at 3 stars, but I've watched the tape on both of them. I've watched more of Nico. And Nico, I'm very excited about. I still see a lot of promising things out of Beau as well. And so this was a big-time get for Oklahoma and kind of solidifying that. I mean, it's a guy that Oklahoma wanted. He's a 6'1" dude, 215 pounds. A dude that you want in that linebacker room. He's from Chandler, Arizona. So, yes, 3-star. And I know a lot of Oklahoma fans kind of see that 3-star and think, man, couldn't you get any better? Couldn't you get any higher? And I understand where you're coming from. I get it. But a big-time get that Oklahoma wanted. He also held offers from Washington, Notre Dame, Tennessee, USC, and other Power 4 programs. So, again, seeing who else is pursuing after him is big for Oklahoma fans to look at, to be able to recognize that. So that's something when you see the other schools, I think that at least validates a little bit about who this guy is. Again, these are guys that if you look at the tape, you can see what this coaching staff was seeing in them, guys that are able to set the tone. I think I kind of put a little bit of a comparison of Beau's brother Nico to a Billy Bowman type player. And I just say that because he's fast. He's kind of a smaller guy, but he's fast, and he's a heat-seeking missile down the line to find a guy. If you're running the ball, he sniffs it out very quickly. And Bowe, I think Bowe just shows a lot of maturity in his game, and shows obviously a lot of athleticism. He's a big dude. He's able to put the hurt on him and show that linebacker stature the way that we've seen from other big time linebackers in the past. So a couple of good gets. I would rank both of these gets right now. I think ranking him as a C plus is solid. That's you can't necessarily go for every 4-star and 5-star out there in the nation, and you have to understand that a little bit. So we'll definitely see how these two play out, but I have a good inkling about both of these guys, and I think seeing how Oklahoma's defense has played since Brent Venables took over, you have to at least give the benefit of the doubt there. In my opinion, you have to give the benefit of the doubt that who he's going after is probably gonna go off. I mean, it's probably a couple of good dudes here if he's going after him. One thing too that I thought was kind of funny, that Oklahoma now has 3 sets of brothers. Could have been 4. They have the Hawkins brothers, they have the Bowen brothers, and now the Jandro brothers. And so next season you'll see 3 sets of brothers. You almost had 3 sets of brothers this season. I guess you did a little bit in the spring with the Sawchuk brothers because Gavin went to Florida State. Gabe Sawchuk's still on the roster as of now. So just kind of interesting to see how Oklahoma just seems to keep on going after those brothers. It's I kind of teased a buddy of mine that it's almost like they're trying to keep it a true brother, like a literal brotherhood. You think of that's kind of a term used for football teams. It's a brotherhood, kind of showing that you're all close. This is literally a brotherhood. You're throwing together a couple of brothers, 3 sets of brothers next season. So as long as everybody sticks around, so kind of interesting, a lot of fun to look at.